Tonight, we're continuing our coverage of the collapsed private hangar under construction on Boise Airport property yesterday. 3 people are dead and 9 others are hurt. At last check, 5 are in critical condition. 7 investigators learned the steel construction company building the Jackson Jet Center hangar has 7 OSHA violations going back to 2014. Big D Builders has been fined tens of thousands of dollars over the past decade on projects across the valley for failing to protect workers. OSHA records show the agency cited them after complaints and referrals for issues including improper training and putting up extension ladders, fall hazards, and employees walking or working on surfaces with unprotected sides, edges, or openings. 7 investigators did not find OSHA complaints related to the hangar construction. According to Idaho Secretary of State records, Big D has been in business in the valley since 1996. We've reached out to the company multiple times over the past 24 hours, but have not heard back yet. Our Abby Davis talked to OSHA about those violations as well as their investigation into the collapse. We're going to get to her in just a minute, but first, let's send it out to Jude Binkley, who's near the site of that collapse tonight. Jude.
Well, Morgan, this collapse happened just west of the airport terminal on property owned by the airport but being leased by the Jackson Jet Company. If you look behind me, you can see the size of this massive 39,000 square foot steel hangar that collapsed. Now, in a statement from Inland Crane, the crane company operating at the site, they said this collapse happened due to an unknown structural failure. They say on Monday they had 4 cranes here for construction, but as of yesterday afternoon, just 1 crane was remaining at the site, which was being used to place an end truss. The crane company says when the hangar collapsed, the crane snapped on impact. Now, the scene here has been fenced off for several hours, and Boise Fire has handed over this investigation to OSHA. Now, you're looking at some of the video from the scene, and you can see just more of that collapse and how the steel posts were, torn from their bolts, and that crane near the center of it all just snapped in half. The collapse happened around 5 yesterday, and Boise Fire says it did kill 3 people, injure 9 others, with 5 people in critical condition. This was a private hangar under construction. Boise Fire says about 30 people were working in the area during the collapse, and everyone was accounted for last night with the help of search and rescue. And we have some scanner audio from first responders during that response last night. Go ahead and take a listen.
St. Albans Boise advised they can take 6 more.
Copy. And inland contractors have 100% accountability at this point. We're still working on Big D contractors who do not have a head count yet.
We're still doing a thorough walkthrough or fires going through the scene of the collapse structure, trying to identify more victims.
The scene here has been fairly quiet over the last couple of hours. Boise police opened up Wright Street a little around 4 today. We have seen some investigators here as OSHA continues their investigation into this collapse. And Morgan, we'll go ahead and send it back to you, but of course we will continue to stay up to date on the latest from this collapse.
Yeah, and our hearts, of course, Jude, go out to everybody involved. Thank you. We're going to bring in our Abby Davis now. Abby, you spoke with OSHA about the collapse and Big D Builders' previous violations. What did you learn?
Yeah, Morgan, like Jude just mentioned, OSHA took over the investigation from Boise Police. Boise OSHA Area Director David Kearns called the collapse one of Idaho's most tragic recent workplace events. Again, we know Big D Builders has 7 OSHA violations going back to 2014. Kearns wouldn't say whether that was a high or a low number of violations for a construction company. He says OSHA issued most of the violations because of, quote, fall hazards. Big D Builders paid all the fines and corrected the issues. Kearns confirmed what Morgan mentioned. There aren't any violations for the Jackson Jet Center project so far. He says this situation seems to be different than incidents the company was cited for in the past.
If we'd had a worker fall off of an elevated surface yesterday because he didn't have fall protection, then I would say it had a lot of bearing. We would really be wondering, why there was still fall hazard issues out there at their job site. However, in this case, it certainly appears that was not the case, and that it had something to do structurally. And we just basically need to look at every investigation and every case, kind of with a blank slate, and really just collect the facts and evidence and base it upon that.
Kearns says OSHA has 6 months to issue any citations. Investigators are already at the scene. They'll collect evidence, do interviews, and also collect documents as well. Because this was such a massive collapse, Kearns thinks the investigation will wrap up pretty close to that 6-month deadline. They also plan on bringing in people from out of state to work on this as well. Coming up on the news at 10, hear how Kearns hopes the collapse sheds some light on workplace safety. Morgan.
Yeah, again, still under investigation, with OSHA taking that investigation over from BPD. Abby Davis, thank you so much. We will continue to bring you the latest information as it becomes available. You can follow us on all of our platforms for all of those updates.